Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Canola, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Movie Battleground. And in today's matchup, we have an interesting matchup, to say the least. I'm very curious to see how this goes because we have Austin Howell taking on Matt Beer. And this is simply a case of every once in a while, we have a player who sort of finds himself in a position where there isn't a proper opponent to play them. Everybody else is already either paired up or they're at an advanced rate. And Austin Howell, who is coming into this off the back of a very, very well played title match, but unfortunately a loss to Amaru, is kind of in that position right now. Matt Beer, coming in, returning to the Battleground a few weeks ago, steps in, takes his first win upon returning, was willing to step up. He was willing to step into this role. Definitely a much more advanced player than Richie, who he took on in his last match, but I think a good challenge for somebody who's on that 50-50 cusp to sort of see where he stands right now within the game. So we're going to talk to him first. Coming in with a record of 3 wins, 3 defeats, and 2 knockouts, he is Matt Beer. Matt, welcome back, sir. Of course, coming in off the back of a win, but this is definitely a much more unnatural step up in opponent than I think the average competitor gets following a win. It was a challenge you were up to at the time when I texted you, maybe less so now that it's here. How do you feel?
I am confused that I accepted this, but hey,
So
I'm gonna have fun. It's gonna be interesting to go from, somebody that's more around that 500 like I was to somebody who's a runner-up in a championship match. I don't expect to win. I really don't expect to win. However, I might surprise myself, and this is a good test to see, am I close? Or am I where I think I am, which is at the bottom and somehow got 2 knockouts? I don't know how I got those knockouts. That whoever I knocked out shouldn't be allowed to compete again, personally, because if I can knock them out, holy shit, anybody can knock them out. So, I don't know. Austin, you might have a nice win on your belt. Let's see where this goes. This is gonna be interesting. I'm just gonna eat bacon sandwiches and I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna be like that little kid who is going up against like people 5 times the size in a wrestling match. I'm gonna try. I'm probably gonna get crushed, but hey, I'll give it a shot.
That comment is made worse by the fact that for unrelated reasons, neither of those players are playing anymore. So with that said,
it's because I knocked them out.
Okay, I'm going to put you in the back and bring in your opponent, coming in with a record of 7 wins, 5 defeats, and 4 knockouts, fresh off his title match attempt. He is Austin Pez Howell. And yeah, man, so like I said, again, this is an interesting matchup, but you find yourself in a very sort of weird position when it came to sort of putting the schedule together, because you're 7-5, 4 knockouts. You do still find yourself a little lower down at this point, but you do still find yourself a top 10 player. You are fresh off of a title match, but everybody else that is around you is either already on the docket for a match coming up, or they're at a place where they're on the way to a title match. And so because you're sort of starting from scratch at this point, it puts you in that bit of a middling position. So you wind up with Matt as your opponent. How do you feel coming in off the back of your last match?
Yeah, no, I was happy with my performance in the title match. We had a hell of a match that I still strongly believe I had won at certain points. But, it is what it is. When something is taken from me here in the Battleground, I come back with a vengeance. And let me give you an example. I had a tournament slot taken away from me by Henry Confidential. What happened next time I was offered a tournament slot? I not only took it, but I knocked out 3 people on the way to what was essentially the finals, since Joe Fairley dropped out and became me and Jay Burns. And Jay Burns went on to get his title shot. What did I do to the person that knocked me out of that tournament? Well, the next time I faced him after I lost to Jay Burns, I knocked his ass out and was the only one who's ever been, and Henry's only suffered 1 knockout to me. So I come back with a vengeance, and I come back stronger than ever. And unfortunately, Matt Beer, you're a good dude, but you're in my way right now, and I'm going to get my title shot back. And when I get my title shot back, it's not going to get wasted. I'm going to take what's rightfully mine and what should be rightfully mine right now, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do and roll over whoever I have to roll over to get my title match again, Aaron. So that's what I'm going to do.
Well said and aggressive as always. We're going to go ahead and bring in your opponent, and we are going to jump into this matchup. What are you doing? You look like an Assassin's Creed character from 2003. What is this? With the hoodie and...
It was cold in my room. Got really cold, and I needed a sweater.
Movie Battleground is a game that is a best of 5 rounds. It is a first to 3 points wins the match. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If a competitor picks up the first 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. That is something both of you are very familiar with. And if at the end of 4 rounds it is a 2-2 tie, we do have a blind round. Although by the sounds of it, Matt is determined not to reach that one way or the other, I guess. If we go into the actual questions,
everything, man.
Jesus Christ. It's like you're on Xanax. 60-second opening argument, 2-minute solo expansion period, a 4-minute open debate, and then 60 seconds to close. Following that, I have 2 judges backstage in the form of Alejandro and Jordan. They will join us on screen. If they do not reach the same result of the battle, I will also be taking notes, and therefore will make a judgment should I need to. With that said, guys, are we ready to go?
Yes.
Why not?
All right. We'll go ahead and jump into this. And for the first question, as I've unfortunately had to say for the last couple of matches because there was a delay in uploads and I'm still finishing the schedule off, I don't know exactly when this match will upload, but at some point within a near vicinity of when this match uploads, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is hitting theaters. Of course, Harrison Ford delivering one of the legendary performances of character in these films. Of course, Indiana Jones, a classic action adventure franchise. And so the question that I pose to these guys is, what is the best performance by a leading actor, actress in an action film? Both of these guys picked some excellent choices. Couldn't be further from each other. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. With all that said, behind the scenes, Austin, you are the favorite of this matchup. So you had the choice of which questions to go first or second on. You chose to go first on questions 2-4, which means, Matt, you are going to be up first on question number 1. So as I go ahead and bring in the timer for you guys, Matt, your opening minute will commence when you begin speaking. Best of luck, guys.
Oh, Lord, here we go. All right. So there's many great performances in a lot of action movies, a lot of iconic performances for sure. However, there's one that I truly believe stands above all else. And it is a performance that if that person isn't in the movie, that movie simply just does not work at all. It falls apart. And that is going to be Uma Thurman as the bride, a.k.a. Beatrice, aka the bride. Oh, what a wonderful start. I'm done.
You could sound a little less like
exciting
at the end of every round.
It's exciting.
Right, that is a concession there. We're gonna go over to you, Austin.
I concede.
You got 1 minute on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
I picked a role that literally no one else could possibly play. And in hindsight, everybody, all critics, audiences have agreed that no one else could have played the role that I picked, which is Bruce Willis as John McClane in Die Hard. It's the most realistic hero we've ever seen on screen. It had to be Willis. It literally had to be Willis because your character of John McClane is an everyman. He's a blue-collar guy. He's just a regular police officer. He's not a muscle-bound action hero. He's not a special forces guy like a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone or even a Van Damme or a Seagal that kind of portrays portrays himself as a badass in every situation. He's a vulnerable guy. He shows his emotions. He fails sometimes. But he kind of has to be brave and badass when he has to be. And Willis perfectly portrays that in numerous instances that I'll get into in just a minute. But he's at his charismatic best in this movie. Many people agree that this is Bruce Willis's best performance of his entire career. And oddly enough, it's in an action film, but it's in a perfect action film. He's perfectly directed by John McTiernan. He has an excellent script to work with, but the script doesn't work if you don't have a caliber actor of Bruce Willis delivering the lines. It doesn't work if you have another boneheaded guy, muscle man.
And time. All right, Matt, we're going to go back over to you. You got 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Muted.
Yep. Yeah.
I am muted, but I got
Yes.
it. There we go. Okay, saying it again. We got Uma Thurman once again playing Beatrice, aka the bride. Nailed it that time. So with her, she's able to pull off all the emotions with ease. She's able to have you root for her, even though you expect her to be back in the sequel, Kill Bill Volume 2. Her performance makes you think that, hey, she might not make it out of it with some of the things that her character goes through in the movie. I was going to go into John McClane. I think we're waiting until 4 minutes, so I'll do that at the 4 minute mark. But again, she's able to pull us in to the movie itself. Yeah, this is a wonderful time because that really threw me off. I'm going to take this off. It's warm now.
But for what it's worth, you don't have to wait.
Oh, I don't? Okay, I'll get into it then. Okay, I thought it was like, wait till you actually get into it in 4 minutes. It's been a while. So when it comes to Die Hard, you could throw in multiple different actors to play John McClane. Okay, look, Bruce Willis, he's good in the movie. Yes, obviously, I agree with you, he's good in a movie, but you could have Harrison Ford in the role, and you would get the same results. You could have Mel Gibson in the role, and you had the same results. The movie, you could have a okay performance for John McClane, and the movie can still work, unlike with Kill Bill Volume 1. I'll get into that in a little bit. That is my time.
All right. Austin, we'll go ahead and go back over to you, sir. You have, you have 2 minutes on the clock, but it's going to look frozen for a couple seconds there. Time starts when you begin speaking.
The reason why Bruce Willis is perfect for this role is, like I said, he didn't come from an action background like Harrison Ford did or Mel Gibson. He came from comedy. He came from television, moonlighting. He came from Blind Date, awkward comedic roles. So people didn't expect him to be a great action hero, which is why he's such a pleasant surprise when he actually does the role. And when he can hold his own against other actors like Alan Rickman in the film, even if it's just over radio, he gets to showcase his incredible range in the little smaller moments with Bonnie Bedelia, when you actually buy into their real conversations and the real beats of their arguments that they're having about their marriage. So you're invested in that. He's open to suggestions, as we see from the guy on the plane who's telling him to, make the knuckles with his feet. So he's not a guy who thinks he's better than everybody else. He listens. Like I said, he makes mistakes. You hear the panic in his voice when he first gets up to the roof and tries to call for help. You hear the panic in his voice when he goes to call the 911. You get to see his incredible voice acting and his vulnerability when he's talking to Al Powell and the different back and forths on the radio, and how he, a guy like, I'm sorry, people like Schwarzenegger or Stallone couldn't pull off stuff like, I've said I love you 1,000 times, but I never said I'm sorry. You need a dramatic actor that can pull off that kind of things, and Bruce is able to do that. He does a lot of reactionary acting in this movie. He's just reacting to different things around him when he's in the same room as people, when he hears things on the radio, when he sees things down below. It's a reaction. So again, it's a full range of emotions, a full range of acting, and a full range of physical acting, including being incredibly well showing his pain. One of the problems I have with The Bride is literally anybody else could have played this role. Charlize Theron could have done it. Zoe Bell, the stunt woman, could have done it. Michelle Yeoh, Angelina Jolie, any number of them. And the problem is you picked the wrong movie, Matt. You picked Volume 1, which is more focused on the action style and the substance over character development. And in fact, that I could literally break down the entire movie on how Uma Thurman herself is barely even in her own movie. You have 8 minutes of a fight sequence that's just a fight sequence. You have 15 minutes where she's sitting in a coma, not even acting, doing anything. 9 minutes where she's wiggling her toes. You have an anime sequence that has nothing to do with her. You have a Hattori Hanzo sequence that's more focused on expanding Hattori Hanzo, and then you have an entire action 40 minutes where she's just doing fighting.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 4 minute open discussion. The timer starts when the first competitor speaks.
Okay. So I'll get into my point of why I think you can still have a really, really good movie with Die Hard without Bruce Willis being in it or even good in the movie at all. And that is Alan Rickman. Alan Rickman is the thing that makes or breaks this movie. You got to have a great villain. And Alan Rickman is considered to be the greatest villain in all of movies, playing Hans Gruber. Like, he makes that movie. Like, we've seen with other Die Hard movies, like, yeah, they're fine, like, they're not bad, but the villain isn't nearly as good at all.
Well, yeah, it's a compliment because they have great chemistry with each other. They are able to bounce off of each other. In fact, that Bruce Willis is able to match Alan Rickman even in his first movie, and they both turn in incredible performances that are both at peak greatest villain of all time, greatest hero of our time, is a compliment to each other in the writing and the overall movie.
Which is why, again, you don't have to have Bruce Willis. We know Bruce Willis is good in the movie, but you could have Harrison Ford, who didn't just start off in action movies, like, it's not like he just started off in action, but you could put him in there. Yeah, he would be known
But I mean, he
for
pretty much did
action,
with Star
but being
Wars.
known
So
for something doesn't mean, yeah, but being known for being in something prior to another thing, it doesn't make your performance better or worse. Bruce Willis being in comedies, it doesn't make his performance better or worse in the movie. The performance he gives is in that movie alone. We're talking best performance, not biggest surprise. If we were talking biggest surprise, I would go with anybody
well,
else.
yeah, and it's his best performance overall because of the surprise of it. Because you see something like Blind Date, and he's this kind of awkward nerd in that movie. You're seeing Moonlighting, where he's just kind of a husband, just doing his thing. You don't have the preconceived notions of somebody like Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson, where you know they're a badass and they can overcome the situation. Bruce Willis, you don't really see that. You see the development of the character throughout the whole movie of him becoming a badass, and becoming brave, and becoming, but again, showing that vulnerability and showing that emotion that he's a flawed character, that he can be beaten, that he can be beat up. There's other movies, Lethal Weapon, you don't really see them like take beatings a whole lot. Like they always come through in the end. You don't know, he has a vulnerability in this one where he has a hopelessness near the end of the movie that he's not going to survive. That's why he's saying, say goodbye to my wife for me. Like, you buy that because he's an everyman.
Yeah, okay, but again, him being in comedies and just being a surprise, and nobody expected him to pull off action like some other actors, it doesn't make his performance good or bad. Yeah, he's good in a movie, but I can think of 50 different actors that can pull off that performance and make it a good movie. Again, that movie doesn't work without Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. You take him out, or you make Hans
He's got a
Gruber
great
not
performance
good,
too. I
the
never
movie
said he
doesn't
wasn't
work.
good.
Bruce
I
Willis
never
is
said
good
he
in the
wasn't
movie,
good.
but the movie
They're
still
both great.
works.
You
The
can
movie
have a
still
movie,
works with a bad performance from Bruce
Matt.
Willis. Like,
You can
if
have
he
a
was bad in the movie.
you can have a great performance from both people, and that's why the movie's amazing, because you have an iconic villain performance and an iconic hero performance. It can work with both. That's why the movie's so great, is they're able to bounce off of each other, and every scene they have, even just over a radio, like I said, reactionary acting and voice acting, literally with just voices and barely having face to face, other than the scene where Alan Rickman is pretending to be one of the office workers, and they have great chemistry there. Like, it's amazing what he's able to do. Your movie, literally, you could throw Charlize Theron in this movie, it's the same movie. You could throw Zoe Bell in there, who's the stunt woman, it's the same movie. She's delivering the same dialogue. Uma Thurman is not bringing anything special to this. She's trying to be just really badass with every line. She has the same tone every time she tries to deliver her lines. The only time she shows any emotion is when she wakes up from the coma. That's really about it. And like I said, she's not even in most of her own movie.
But here's the thing. Again, yeah, she's not in most of her movie. True. But the reason why her performance is so good and why it is the best performance in any action movie is because she could be in like 5 minutes of the movie, but her performance alone makes that movie as great as it is. And it makes that movie, to a lot of people, the best Tarantino movie of all time. There's a
But
lot
here's
of
the
people who
problem.
believe
She's
it
doing
is.
a lot of great action when she's actually on screen. But like I said, there's a good almost 45 minutes of this movie where she's not even there, as opposed to Die Hard, where John McClane is the center of the movie. He's in a lot of the scenes, even the scenes where he's just reacting. He's always around. You're always invested in him. He's always doing something.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 1 minute closings. Matt, you're up first. Time starts when ready.
Okay, so just because John McClane, aka Bruce Willis, is not, or is in the movie the entire time, or in a lot more of his movie than Uma Thurman, it does not mean that his performance is better than Uma Thurman. Okay, we've seen plenty of actors be in a movie for just a little bit, but their performance makes that movie as great as it is. Think of Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. What makes her performance so good is, for one, she's able to pull off all the emotion. She's able to suck you in and just keep you invested, and you fear for her life. And again, you take her out of it, it just simply doesn't work at all. But she's so good that she can be in it for just a little bit, but she can make that movie one of, if not the best Tarantino film. She makes that movie amazing. She does her fight sequences, her stunts. She does all of it. She's great in that movie. Bruce Willis, you could take him out, put in Harrison Ford, put in literally Mel Gibson. It would work. His performance doesn't make the movie like Uma Thurman.
And time. All right, and then Pez, over to you. Final minute.
Like I said, Matt just picked the wrong movie. If he had picked Kill Bill Volume 2, which has a lot more character substance and allowing Uma Thurman to have her great scenes that she has with David Carradine in that movie, those training montages where you see the pain on her face, she has more actual acting to do in that movie. The first one, again, she's asleep for half of the movie. The last, there's anime sequences. There's the whole thing's based on Lucy Liu's character where she's not even a part of it. Again, you have a 40-minute action sequence essentially at the House of the Flying Daggers that she's just doing action acting, and Zoe Bell's actually doing most of that stuff anyway. So there's not a lot of acting going on when she's just doing fight choreography. Bruce Willis is not only doing realistic fight choreography, but again, he's showing the pain, he's showing regret, he's showing bravado when he needs to, but he's also showing vulnerability when he needs to, and emotions in every scene. Again, in every reaction that he does when he's just even doing voice acting, when he's doing action acting, everything comes together for Bruce Willis. It's one of his finest performances ever. As far as Uma Thurman, again, a lot of it's style over substance. She's posing and brooding most of the movie, and she's not actually showing a whole lot of range. You show range in a lot in Volume 2, but you picked Volume 1, and Volume 1 is not the best showcase.
And time. All right, guys. Solid start there. We'll go ahead and sit you guys in the back, and we will bring the judges forward. No fact checking today because I'd be a bad judge if I was. So Alejandro, we're going to go up to you. Well, there's an argument I would be a good judge if I was, but then I'd be paying less attention like I normally do. So one or the other. Alejandro, We'll go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
It's a lose-lose situation for you. I'm sorry. As far as the round, that was incredibly one-sided for me. I went with Pez, for a bunch of different reasons. I think Matt kind of handicapped himself, dropping a whole lot of that time during the 2 minutes and even the opening 60 seconds, just absolutely wasted, whereas Pez filled all of his time with reasons that not only that the character works, that the acting works, that the story works, and really knocking down Kill Bill, which I also don't think is a great movie, but his point about her not being in the movie, and I just think Matt didn't punch back at all with any of that stuff. So I think Pez, absolutely, 100%.
All right, Jordan, down to you.
I disagree. Pez 99%. No. I'm going to go with Pez as well. A lot of the things that you said, I was taking notes here. I agree with you on time too. I think that's prime real estate. You got to maximize your time. And I wrote down Matt left 30 seconds and 40 seconds. That's over a minute. Given to, you got to sell me on yours, and you got to debunk the things they said. And there's also a lot of stuff that Matt didn't debunk. Matt threw out a good point and Harrison Ford could play him. I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Pez battle back. We're like, yeah, but we know Harrison Ford could do action. One of the things that sells us is the development of Bruce Willis, who we just kind of know as a comedy guy, developing into the role here. So Pez is very good at using his time, even though I almost thought my computer was wrong because Pez talks so fast. I thought I hit the ×2 button on speed. I was like, damn, man, you're getting your buddy, but that's what you got to do sometimes. So yeah, I thought Pez battled back better, sold his movie, debunked the other one, just a lot better here for round one. So yeah, Pez as well.
All right, we're going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and jump into question number 2 here.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my points in. I'm sorry. I'll talk. No, I'm going to keep talking as fast. I'm sorry, but yeah.
I'm going to talk really fast too. I'm going to really, really, really talk fast. Okay, so be prepared. Get your fingies ready.
All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into the second question here. Die Hard, I think most people would say, is one of the best action films of the 1980s. Kill Bill, certainly, I think a lot of people would say, is one of the best action films of the 2000s. But there's a decade there in the middle that we did not reference in that last question that I want to go to now. So the question here is, what is the best comedy film of the 1990s? I never said it was action films. I just said we're talking 90s. With that said, though, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. Austin, you are up first this time around. So the timer starts for you once you begin speaking.
So I went with a really underdog movie that fits kind of the tone of the actual movie, and it was a movie that really took a long time to kind of garner an audience, but has over time and has become many people's one of their favorite comedies. It's an underdog comedy with working class heroes, and it's a working class movie. I picked Office Space from 1999, directed by Mike Judge. It's a movie that's endlessly relatable. There's so many things that regular people can relate to in this movie. You can connect with every single character in this movie. People like this in this movie. You have worked with people like this in this movie. You have bosses like this in this movie. You can relate to the annoying coworkers, the tech problems that anybody can deal with in any profession, traffic in the opening scene, just the frustration of bumper to bumper traffic, deadlines, the corporate slogans, the corporatism of everything. Anybody who's ever worked for a company or even worked at all, worked any job at all, or hates their job, can watch this movie, relate to it, get some great laughs, and actually get a really good, fun storyline, again, with some fun characters and a phenomenal soundtrack to boot. It just has so much to say as far as great commentary, but it's immensely enjoyable. It doesn't beat you over the head with it, and you can rewatch it over and over again.
And time. All right, Matt, over to you. Opening minute, when ready.
Okay, so I went with what I think is the most iconic comedy of the 1990s. I like that little segue you did, Aaron. Between the 80s and the 2000s, liked it. But I went with a movie. It just rarely comes around. You don't get these types of movies very often, and it's The Big Lebowski, man. It's just so iconic. It's a fan favorite. I'll go into more details. I know I don't use my time up, but I like to spread evenly, and I like to chill like the dude, and I'll concede my time because I got a text message, and we must see what it is.
I can abide. All right, we'll go ahead and jump the time forward there. Austin, your 2 minutes is up on the clock when you begin speaking.
So one of the things Mike Judge does brilliant in this movie is not only is it a fantastic script, again, that rips apart any kind of work culture or corporate culture, but he also packs his movies with great character actors that bring every single, even little minute characters to life. You have a great leading man with Ron Livingston, who's not a very well-known guy, but he creates this character Peter out of nowhere. He has a great character arc of going from this guy who's frustrated with his job to a guy that doesn't have any care in the world because of a therapeutic error, and you get to see the change in his character and how he adjusts to life with his job. Jennifer Aniston's really fun as Joanna, his girlfriend, that also works at a crummy job at a restaurant. Again, super relatable. Everybody's worked in the food industry, and every scene that she has is right there for the picking. And Jennifer Aniston is great. Their chemistry is wonderful. You have great character actors like David Herman playing Michael Bolton, who has a running gag about his name throughout the film. You have Deidre Bader, the kind of annoying but lovable neighbor, who can hear right through the walls. Another great running gag. Lots of great running gags in this movie that pay off over time. You have Gary Cole as Bill Lumbergh, one of the funniest boss characters of all time with the yes, and we have a problem here. You have Stephen Root as Milton, the character that the whole movie was based upon, and him mumbling about his stapler and being constantly moved around, and there's a great payoff with his character threatening to burn the building down. You have Richard Reel, Joe Boyce, John C. McGinley, Paul Wilson, Greg Pitts, Mike McShane, all these wonderful character actors who can accentuate and make every single character memorable in this movie, and who you remember. You may not remember their exact character names, but you remember that guy. You remember the Case of the Mondays lady. You remember the guy who's dealing with the paper jams. You remember the two Bobs who are doing all the layoffs. You remember Bill Lumbergh. It's all everything that comes to a payoff. My problem with The Big Lebowski is not only is it too long and it drags, it's a pretty aimless movie with no plot. It's a mean-spirited movie as opposed to Office Space, which is a fun-spirited movie. It has a lot of heart to it and makes you feel good at the end of it and makes you feel hopeful for the future. Big Lebowski just has people yelling and screaming at each other. There's characters, no characters you can root for. The dude is an aimless character who has aimless dream sequences. Basically a whole aimless thing, no plot, nothing to get behind.
And time. All right, Matt, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock when ready. You're muted.
Oh my God, I always do that. It's so silly. All right, so The Big Lebowski. I went with The Big Lebowski because, in my opinion, every single thing it does, I think tops pretty much every single comedy in the 1990s. It definitely tops everything in Office Space, which is a fine movie. Like, I think it's a fine movie. Mike Judge does he does a pretty good job, but it's not Office, or it's not The Big Lebowski, man. The Big Lebowski is more iconic, like I said. You got some of the more iconic characters, like the dude. The dude is something that is going to carry on for generations and generations. You got Walter, who's a fantastic side character, just a perfect match with the dude. It's a really good duo. You got Donnie in the movie, Julianne Moore, Philip Seymour Hoffman. You got a lot of great actors in this movie too. It's directed by the Coen brothers, which personally, in my opinion, I think this is the best Coen brothers movie, even over movies like Fargo and even over movies like True Grit and, No Country for Old Men. I think this is their best movie. I think it's paced really, really well. I think it goes by real fast. It's very smooth. Is it long? Sure, but it doesn't feel long. I think the Coen brothers do a really good job making you entertain and making you feel like time has flown when you watch that movie. You have more iconic lines in this movie too than you do with Office Space. You have the most iconic, hey man, you have the most iconic, I have it written down. That's just like your opinion, man. I mean, you see that being brought up all the time when you're online and there's people that, disagree with one another. Somebody throws out an opinion that is just straight up trash, but you'll see somebody reply with that GIF or GIF. I don't know where you're from. You might pronounce it one way or the other. But again, you also have John Turturro as Jesus. Like, people want a Jesus movie, not Jesus Christ, but Jesus. Like, they want Jesus and they want him to have a movie. That's gonna be my time. Look at that. I used about all my time. It's crazy.
Congratulations. All right, we're going
Thank
to go
you.
into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer starts back up when the first competitor speaks.
There's three subgenres that should never be 2 hours long, and that's horror movies, comedies, and family films. And your movie is 2 hours long, and it absolutely feels every single minute of it because it's just a series of vignettes stretched out over 2 hours. Again, there's no through line, plot line for you to get behind. The characters don't have any kind of arcs or changes in their beings. There's nothing really to see develop over time. My movie is 90 minutes, has positive character changes. You see the characters go through struggles throughout the movie, and it makes you feel good at the end of it.
When we're talking about comedies, I don't need to see my characters go through all these arcs, okay? When you have characters like the dude, I want the dude to be the dude. I want Walter to be Walter. I don't really want to see them develop and go through all these changes. This is not a drama, okay? If it was a TV series, you might be able to convince me with, oh, we should have character arcs because, it's a TV series. But when it comes to a movie, I want my characters to stay the same,
But
man.
again, if you don't have something to connect the movie, then what do you have? You have a series of SNL sketches with very fun characters. You have a series of characters that would work great in little vacuums and little short films, a little short sketch about them in the bowling alley meeting the dude, or the short sketch about them spreading the ashes. We have these nice little sketches, but there's nothing to stretch the movie along. Then and you're not getting it, you're not laughing. Then what's the point of the whole thing? It's completely aimless.
I am absolutely laughing. I'm laughing throughout the movie because of the performance of Jeff Bridges. Walter makes me laugh every single time when he pulls that gun out in the bowling alley.
It's all he does.
Jesus makes me laugh
the whole movie.
That's why Walter's great. Walter's fantastic. Okay, I don't need Walter to go through this life-changing adventure.
You never see him again, and then when they did a spin-off movie of that, it failed miserably because characters like that only work for 4 minutes.
Okay, for one, I didn't know there was a Jesus movie. You're going to have to redirect me to that. And two, people wanted it for a reason. It's because Jesus is great in The Big Lebowski, okay? Also, you have Sam Elliott narrating this movie. It's great. I love Sam Elliott. So having him in this movie
Sam Elliott telling you
really
everything about the dude when you're so invested in the dude? Why do you need to tell him about why he's so cool when you
it's
can
Sam
see it on screen?
Motherfucking Elliott, man.
Now, once again, another pointless aside that you could cut that and it would not, do anything to the movie.
But here's the thing. Look, I want to be able to sit down, have a good time watching a movie. Do I need to go through a life-changing thing like I would want to with a drama? No, I don't. I want to laugh. I want to have a good time. I want to see some characters do some fun, awesome things. And look, let's compare Office Space to The Big Lebowski now. Let's compare Peter, the dude. Who's better? The dude. The dude is more iconic. People love the dude more.
Nobody more relatable because he's a guy who
I don't care about relatability with movies. I go to the movies to escape reality.
The reason The Big Lebowski doesn't work is because it's so polarizing. Just as many people who love The Big Lebowski and it's one of their favorite movies hate The Big Lebowski. I hate The Big Lebowski because it doesn't make any sense. If you have to go online and watch videos titled Big Lebowski Explained, Hidden Meaning of Big Lebowski, why you should watch The Big Lebowski 100 times, if I have to do homework for my movie, it doesn't work as the greatest comedy of all time. You need to be able to pick it up and like it from day one, Matt.
I never had to do any homework. I just sat down. I watched a comedy as I should. I enjoyed it. I got it. It's not that deep.
You got it. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people don't, Matt.
I'm built different, I guess. I don't know. But here's the thing. Again, if we're going to compare the two movies, again, Office Space, you talk about the main characters. The dude is a better character overall. People remember the dude. People don't remember Peter. The side characters, it's again, the Big Lebowski, Walter, Jesus, Donnie. I mean, so on and so forth. The The characters are more iconic, and the
Your
characters are
characters
better
are more
in the Big
memeable. Your
Lebowski.
lines and your characters have become
People
memes, but
love-
that doesn't mean
look,
but that doesn't mean it's the greatest thing just because they
memes are
become
great.
memes. You know,
Don't-
like
don't-
my
let's not
movie
trash
works again
memes.
as a whole, not just a series of lines and a series of memes and a vacuum and a series of sketches.
Your movie's
My movie again
forgettable, man.
works as a completely whole.
fine, but
It's not forgettable at all.
Yes,
25
it is.
years later,
There's
people
nothing
still
more
talking about it.
memorable in that movie
It's-
than the
remember,
dream
it's the-
sequence.
it's
I'm
the-
taking it to the last second now. I'm talking to the last second. You did it last time.
That's fine.
Okay.
And then I'll let you do it next time.
All
that was
right. I think we got something we need to work out after this match, Matt. With that said, Austin, we're going to go back over to you. You got 1 minute left on the clock.
Yeah.
Time starts when you begin speaking.
So the Office Space legacy has really exceeded 25 years. People are still discovering this movie, to this very day. And you can get something out of the movie as you go through more experiences later in life. No matter what age you are, no matter what job you are, you can relate to something in this movie, and that's what makes it so funny and how it's gone from generation to generation. And people are still discovering it and calling it one of their favorite comedies of all time. Yours again is good for memes, but it's too niche to be the greatest comedy ever because there's just as many people that hate it that don't like it. Again, if you have to do homework to understand what the hell the meaning of it all was, then it doesn't make for a great, the best comedy of the 90s, because if you don't get it, and most people don't get it the first time, why do I have to do homework? I can watch Office Space over and over again. I get it the first time, and I watch it again and again based on life experience and get more things out of it, and can still just enjoy the lines, enjoy the character actors, enjoy the characters themselves over and over again. Again, yours is a vacuum movie that doesn't go anywhere. It's just a series of sketches. It works great as that. But, what's the point of it all? And, of course, the Coens did it better as far as irreverent comedy with stuff like Raising Arizona, with stuff like Fargo. They've done it better in the past instead of Big Lebowski.
All right, and that is time. Sorry, there we go. That is time. Matt, we'll go back over to you. You got 1 minute left when ready.
Okay. So, again, Big Lebowski, it's the more iconic movie for one. It's the better movie in general. It has a better script. It's better written. The characters are better overall. The dude is remembered for a reason. It's because the dude is a great lead. Okay, you have great supporting characters in this movie as well. Look, I don't need relatability when I watch movies, okay? Again, movies are made to escape the world. That's what it is. Some movies don't do that, but movies are supposed to help you escape the world that you're currently in. I don't care about relatability when I watch a movie, okay? I don't sit down when I watch Star Wars and go, oh, I wish this was relatable. It's just, it's not relatable, man. So it's just not as good as some of these other films. Again, Office Space is a fine little movie. It is, but it's not something that most are going to remember. There's a reason why it's not talked about nearly as much as The Big Lebowski. Big Lebowski is a better written film. It's a better directed film and has better characters in the film. And that's my time.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into the judges' thoughts here. Go ahead and bring them in. With that said, Jordan, we'll go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
So first of all, I think a lot more even this round here. I enjoyed the talk back and forth, especially during that open round. I think Matt gave it back as good as Pez at its points, but I'm still leaning towards Pez here for this round. I do think so. Like they both kind of gave us some good like character arcs, but I think like Pez sold me a little bit more of all these characters from the major to the minor here. Matt sometimes got kind of into Walter with the gun, but then I just felt like he spoke a lot more in generalities, whilst Pez got specific as to why his movie was better, including even knocking too. Like I think Pez did good at like picking apart maybe why Big Lebowski is not as good, and I think Matt kind of spoke more in generalities. It didn't really sell me enough as to why. Like I believe he believes it, but like tell me why you believe it to a degree here. So leaning more towards Pez this round.
Alejandro?
Bro, I absolutely agree. That was way more even. Much more competitive match. Great job, both of those guys. I actually went the other way because it was really, really close, but I went with Matt on this one. I think, like you said, Pez did a great job to start building up Office Space and also picking apart Big Lebowski, but I think Matt was so deliberate in taking those parts and throwing them back, like saying, and I do think Pez kind of shot himself in the foot. He kind of underplayed his own argument because he's saying like it's an underdog pick and people generally forget about it because it's not that popular, and then turn around and say Big Lebowski is too niche and memeable. Like I feel like that was sort of counterintuitive to what he was trying to sell. So it was a very, very, very thin line technicality, but yeah, I lean toward Matt.
All right, which means it'll go to the tiebreaker to myself, and yeah, again, this was a much closer fight than the last one, but I'm actually on the same page as Alejandro. I think a lot of this debate came down to talking about the specifics of the different characters and their roles, and also memorability. That was something a lot of both of their films were focused on in terms of talking about the jokes. But I think what sold me with Matt is a lot of Pez's argument came from the perspective of the film's relatability. And while I do think he did a good job at selling that, Matt did push me a little more with I don't always need something, especially if it's a comedy, to be relatable. I want something that makes me laugh. And I think there were just a few more bits that were brought up on that side. I think when they were talking about the pop culture zeitgeist, that Lebowski is around more in the zeitgeist. As someone who has only seen both films once, and it was a while ago, I'm remembering as they're saying it quicker, the Lebowski moments, than I am the Office Space moments, the way that it's hitting me. And so I think he did do a good job of selling it. Very, very good from both sides, but it is going to go to Matt for this one for me. So with that said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back, and we'll jump into the next question here as we go to question number 3. And as I've done in the last couple of matches, I've been using these last few matches to show some more love to those who have submitted in some questions. So the remaining 2 questions are both viewer submitted. This first one, not a shocker to anybody. This is in a series of questions we've been doing across many, many matches, as was sent in to us by Noah McCausland. And this is essentially doing decades. We've done 70s, we've done 60s, we've got 90s coming up in some upcoming matches, but today we are going to the 1980s. So as submitted by Noah McCausland, the question is, what is the best year in film of the 1980s? You got 10 excellent years, a lot of memorable stuff in all of these years, but who can find the angle to crack the win? With that said, Pez, we go back over to you, or no, Matt's first this time, excuse me. I'll bring the timer up and it'll start when you begin speaking.
Yeah, the 80s is a decade I wish I could have experienced as a kid. Absolutely. Best decade ever. Don't care what anybody says. But this is really tough because there's so many great movies in the 80s. Just so many iconic films that we all love and cherish. And I was really stuck between 2 years. One was 1985, but the one I decided to go with was the year that started it off, 1980. I went 1980 because, in my opinion, I believe when you talk about all the different genres, you have the best film of each genre in this decade. For one, sci-fi fantasy, Empire Strikes Back. Not only the best of sci-fi / fantasy, but also the best Star Wars film, and quite possibly the best sequel of all time. So you got that. You got movies like The Shining. You got movies like Raging Bull. I mean, there's a lot of bangers this year. And to me, I just think the top 3 alone are better than any other year's best film. And then there's also some great films sprinkled in there as well. That's my time.
And time. All right, Austin, back over to you. 1 minute for your opening.
So I went with a year that literally has banger after banger, not just 3 movies that step above everything else and everything else is mediocre. I went with a movie where literally almost every week had something that still holds up today, that people still talk about, that's still relevant. I went with 1984. So not only do you have some of the greatest movies of all time in their different respected subgenres, but you have movies that started franchises to where the movies that came out in 1984 of those franchises are still considered the best movies of those franchises, which says a lot about the actual year and how great the year was. Even if I just go down the list of the top 10 movies of that year, box office wise, you have Ghostbusters, Temple of Doom, Gremlins, Karate Kid, Police Academy, Footloose, Beverly Hills Cop, Star Trek 3, Terms of Endearment, and Romancing the Stone. Not a single bad film in one of those rare years where the actual top grossing films were all good, as opposed to what I'll go over with Matt's list, where the top grossing film was a mixed bag at best, with a couple of good movies. I went with a year that was consistent, that has great movies that still hold up over time, and is overall just a better bag of movies.
And time. All right, so we're going to go into the 2 minutes. It is 1980 versus 1984. Matt, back over to you when ready.
I mean, I could have listed more bangers, I just have a minute to talk about my bangers, Not only Do you have the best Star Wars movie, the best horror film / Stephen King film, and the best boxing movie, or at worst, a top 2 boxing film? You have also the best parody movie in Airplane. You have The Elephant Man. You have Blues Brothers. You have Ordinary People. You have a banger Kurosawa film, and Kajmusa. I can never pronounce that name right, but Kajmusa also came out that year. You have John Carpenter's The Fog, Caddyshack, Superman 2. You have a lot of bangers in that year, man. You do. But guess what? In 1984, you had some shit films. While 1980 had Superman 2, 1984 had Supergirl. You had The Hills Have Eyes too. The Return of Captain Invincible. My God, what a disaster of a film. Dungeon Master, Cannonball Run 2, so on and so forth. There's some pretty trash films in 1984. And look, there are some good movies in 1984 as well. Every year, 1980, that decade, has good movies. But you can't tell me that your best movies are better than 1980's best films. That's going to be my time.
All right. Go ahead and jump it up. Austin, you have 2 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Okay. Like I said, all the movies I've listed, even just from the top 10, are movies that still hold up and are relevant today. But I could even break it down by genre. You have two absolute classic horror comedies, two of the greatest, literally the greatest of all time, came out on the exact same day in 1984. Ghostbusters and Gremlins, same day of release. Shows you how stacked this year was. If you want to go to other straight horror, Nightmare on Elm Street, the most iconic horror character of all time, Freddy Krueger, born in 1984, and Wes Craven's still best film. Even slasher franchises that were going on like Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, which comes out in this one, directed by Joseph Zito, is considered by many fans to be the best directed and the best made film in the franchise series, and a lot of people's favorites. And even the smaller horror films of that year, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Chud, Toxic Avenger, two great Stephen King adaptations with Children of the Corn and Firestarter. Everything works. You go over to comedy, you have Revenge of the Nerds, Splash, and Police Academy, all excellent movies that people still hold up today. And even smaller films like Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks really kicking off his career. Johnny Dangerously, Michael Keaton, a great cult film. The greatest mockumentary of all time, This is Spinal Tap, and another great parody film. You mentioned parody film, Top Secret, a really underrated parody film. You have great Family Affair, Never Ending Story, and Muppets Take Manhattan. Both those movies are bangers. Great Oscar Best Picture winner that year, Amadeus, a movie that still works and is excellent. Again, even just mainstream fare, Red Dawn, Temple of Doom, Dune, Last Starfighter. All these movies are really, really fun. And again, Eddie Murphy's best film, Beverly Hills Cop, Karate Kid, 16 Candles. My God, John Hughes started his career in 1984 as a director in this one. You have The Terminator. I didn't even mention The Terminator. The Terminator, James Cameron, really breaking out in 1984 and still debatable as to whether Terminator 2 is the best. It's like saying which cut of steak do you like, filet mignon or ribeye? The problem I have in 1980 is, again, you take Empire, Shining, and Raging Bull out of it, you got a lot of mediocre stuff. I'll break down the top 10 in a minute, but of yours. But there's a lot of movies people forget about. A lot of movies have just been lost by the wayside. Every year has bad movies, but your movies have way more bad movies than mine.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer starts and the first competitor speaks.
Okay. So, for one, box office, let's just get that out of the way. Box office doesn't equal good. Okay.
It doesn't mean it doesn't my year's case. That's the exception.
No, here's the thing. But I'm just saying, when you say, oh, box office, the top 10 of this year, there are some mediocre films, which is probably not true. That doesn't mean that, oh, these were the best movies of, that year. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying that the top grossing movies were also great, which is not always the case when you have years like 87 where 3 Men and a Baby was one of the top grossing movies. That's what I mean. Or yours has a top 10 where Smokey and the Bandit 2 and Any Which Way You Can, the Monkey Clint Eastwood movie, were the top grossing, where people were kind of dumb in 1980 watching the Monkey movie over and over again. That's what I mean.
Don't you ever trash monkeys. Okay, don't trash them. They're lovely creatures. Anyway, but again, yeah, those were decent films. I mean, you can talk to some people and they'll be like, yeah, that's decent. But that doesn't mean that represents the greatness of 1980. You made a statement.
You said it had the best sci-fi and Star Wars movie of Empire, which is debatable now. It wasn't really debatable then, but now there's plenty of people that love the Disney stuff. Last Jedi, a lot of people favorite Star Wars movie, or Rogue One, has worked better for modern audiences than going back and watching Empire, which some people find boring. So it doesn't really necessarily completely hold that status now. With The Shining, there's many people, even in this community that I talk to all the time, that love Dr. Sleep more than The Shining. I find The Shining boring. So that even that title that you claim is still done, as opposed to mine. Ghostbusters is still the best horror comedy of all time. Terminator is still the best, one of the best sci-fi action movies of all time. Nightmare on Elm Street was still one of the best horror movies of all time. Still to this day, even after endless franchises, endless sequels, endless remakes, those movies still hold up 40 years later.
For one, Terminator is not the best. It's Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But
again,
no,
like I said,
Ghostbusters is not the best
or
horror comedy film. It isn't. But let's again.
You're right. It might
compare.
be Gremlins, which also came out in '84. It might be that.
No,
you're
it's
right.
not. Look, Gremlins is based in my state, and I would even say no, that's not true. It's actually based pretty close to where I live. It's not true. I think when you talk about what's the best movies in '84, compare them to 1980, I have you beat. Okay, like I said, you have Empire Strikes Back, Raging Bull, Shining. Get those out of the way.
Raging Bull is a
Obviously,
very polarizing movie. A lot of people hate that character and find that movie very, very unpleasant. And it's not
you don't need to dislike. Look, you don't need a likable character for a good movie.
No, I'm just saying a lot of people don't hold that movie in high regard. People watch it today and don't like that movie. I'm just saying, if you're going to say it's the best of the best, then it needs to be pretty universally loved, right?
No, that's actually not true at all. But again, you don't have to love a character or like a character even to acknowledge, yeah, this is a great film. There's many movies that have characters that we don't like, but they're movies we love. Like, it's not like, you have to like the character in the lead to enjoy it. I mean, Breaking Bad, for example, not a movie, but still, Walter White, not a good dude. He's not a good dude at all. We're not supposed to like him, but still a great show.
No, I'm not going to go down that
I
tangent.
digress.
When you have a year where, Popeye made more than, The Shining, it tells you a lot about the audiences and what they actually preferred and the mediocrity that they endured at the box office, as opposed to, again, mine, banger after banger that worked.
Don't
had
you
all
dare
quality,
trash Popeye.
that had all quality in even my top 10. I'm just using that as an example, and that usually the top 10 you see stuff like Transformers Age of Extinction now, which obviously that does not equal quality, but what I mean is 1984, the top grossing movies were all good that people still talk about.
But that doesn't mean your year's better than any other year. Okay, money,
I named other
just
ones.
because your
good
movies
Purple
made
Rain,
more money than the bad ones aren't.
Purple Rain 2010, I've got
2010's not good. 2010.
Yes, oh, it
no, it's not.
Is.
It's not good at all.
Weird.
It's a major disappointment. Okay,
again,
we're about ready to hit
still worked with Cobra Kai today, still holding up.
See, I let you go the last second this time.
Okay, we're gonna go into the final minute here. Matt, you're up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So again, 1980s, fantastic decade. I think we can all agree it is probably the best decade of all time, in my opinion. But when you talk about what year has the best films, it's 1980, the year that started it off. You have Empire Strikes Back, The Shining, you have Raging Bull, you have The Fog, Caddyshack, Airplane, Friday the 13th, Superman 2, you had Kachmusa, Ordinary People, The Elephant Man, Blues Brothers, yada, 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 banger, 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 banger. You have all these great films in there, okay? You cannot tell me Ghostbusters or Gremlins or Temple of Doom or any of these movies are better than my top 5 in that year. You cannot tell me that. 1984 gave us Supergirl, The Hills Have Eyes 2, The Return of Captain Invincible, Dungeon Master, Cannonball Run 2, Best Defense, Ninja Master 2, trash. Okay, so again, compare our best movies. 1980 tops it.
All right, that is time. Austin, you have 1 minute left when ready.
See, at least you have name recognition with the worst movies of my year that people have actually heard of. Yours is Galaxina, Herbie Goes Bananas, When Time Ran Out, Cruising, Bronco. I mean, tell me anybody who's even heard of these movies. They just faded into obscurity because they don't matter. Even my bad movies, people still know of and still watch, which goes to show the quality. And again, I've said these franchise movies like that came out of my year are still considered the best of the franchise, even with movies after yours. I've already pointed out that the ones you pointed out, Shining, Star Wars, Raging Bull, are not even the best movies even considered today. There's at least debate about whether they're the best of their respective genres or subgenres even going today. But mine are overwhelmingly the best of theirs, with Nightmare and with Ghostbusters, with the Terminator, with the Karate Kid, with 16 Candles. A lot of these great movies that still hold up today. You still see reaction stuff on YouTube of all these people reacting to these movies. Yours is polarizing at best. You have stuff like 9 to 5 and Ordinary People, which nobody talks about. I mean, just movies that people forget. You've got a couple of bangers, but overall, it just doesn't hold a candle to everything that came out in '84.
And time. All right, we're going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and bring the judges back in here. Alejandro, I'll go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Well, first I want to comment on the question because I've judged two of these so far, and they both have like the same style where both of the competitors have to list the movies. Like there's no getting around that. But I think Pez has actually done it the best that I've seen so far because not only did he break down like in genres why the movies were great, he really sold that as far as the better movies from 1980, even though I think Matt had a uh, great ammunition with like Friday the 13th and the Blues Brothers to kind of build on like the beginning of those franchises. The fact that Pez said there are better Star Wars movies, there are better Stephen King adaptations. Raging Bull is a polarizing film, and even though it doesn't necessarily dictate value, box office results and popularity do kind of make movies. So for a bunch of different reasons, I went with Pez.
All right. Over to Jordan. Who gets your vote?
You're muted, bro.
You're muted.
Hey, it happens to the best of us. This was an interesting one because, yeah, unlike normal debates, it becomes kind of just like a list of rambling. You know what I mean? So this was hard to judge because I really kind of flip-flopped a couple times because I thought both did good, as best as you could in a question like this. I was with Matt for a little while here, but I did eke towards Pez in the end. I just kind of felt like he did a good job of they both did a good job debunking, but he kind of sold why like his is some of the best of the franchises. He even kind of did like a fun little twist at the end where like he kind of sold like even his worst films in a way. So like yeah, I was with Matt for a while there, but maybe that final argument, this was a tough one, but I ate towards Pez in this one.
All right, judges, thank you guys. We'll go ahead and sit you in the back, and we will jump into question number 4 here tonight, which is another viewer-submitted question. This one is brought to us by Zach Shelton, and I have no natural transition for this because most attempts to make this thing, this will make sense in a moment, most attempts to make this thing work don't work. We even had one a couple of years ago that didn't work, which is why I think it does make for a good question because it sends us into the depths of history to find our answers. The question is, what is the best Robin Hood movie? Obviously, in terms of iconography, he is one of those legendary characters that you recognize and remember. There's tons of different films, but so many of them aren't very good. So the question is, which one nailed it? With that said, Pez, we're going to go to you first. The timer goes to you when you are ready.
This one was pretty easy for me as soon as the question came up. It's no doubt the movie that is the absolute gold standard of Robin Hood films and even adventure films in general, and a movie that still holds up over 80 years later. Yes, I'm going to talk about a very old movie. It's called The Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938, starring Errol Flynn, directed by Michael Curtiz, who went on to direct Casablanca. So not only is this movie incredibly well directed, it has a 7.9 on IMDb, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, one of those rare movies that is 100%, not a single bad review. It won 3 Oscars for art direction, score and editing, an amazing score for this movie, a quintessential sort of swashbuckling, adventure score, nominated for Best Picture, which is rare for kind of a adventure movie like this. A swashbuckling movie is kind of unprecedented at the time. Most movies that were getting nominated around that time were just kind of straight dramas. And yeah, it has an incredible, like I said, the actual titular character of Robin Hood, the best portrayal ever of Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn is the quintessential hero, the swashbuckling bravado, the talking shit. He does it all in this movie, and he makes it all look very easy.
And time. All right, Matt, over to you, sir.
Okay, so for me, this was the obvious answer, and I am correct. This is the obvious answer, and that will be Robin Hood, the Disney animated version. That's the true answer there. It's a lot of fun at the end of the day. It's a lot of fun. You can sit down, you can watch this movie with your family, you can watch it alone, whatever, and you're going to have a good time. Okay, seeing the characters portrayed as animals, I think was a fun little spin that they did with this movie as well. Pretty unique decision they went with. They could have just went with, regular people, but they went with animals, and I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. So yeah, going with Disney's Robin Hood.
All right, I'll take the silence as a concession,
Yes,
which means
I
Pez
concede.
will go. All right, we'll go on to you for your 2 minutes when you are ready.
So, like I said, this movie did a lot of firsts and a lot of things that really set the tone for every Robin Hood movie that comes after. Pretty much every kind of myth or storytelling device you ever see in a Robin Hood movie came from this movie. It really did it, and it did the best. It has never been upheld. Even stuff in your Disney's Robin Hood takes directly from this film. The look of the characters, the costume design, things like that. This was, like I said, incredibly well shot by Michael Curtiz, who would go on to direct movies like Casablanca. You have Saul Polito and Tony Gaudio doing incredible cinematography, and a first for Warner Brothers. They shot it in a three-strip, Technicolor process, much like The Wizard of Oz. But this came before The Wizard of Oz, so the movie is absolutely gorgeous. It has a Technicolor that has never been surpassed. It is one of the most colorful, gorgeous movies, even just to look at. To this day, 80 years later, it looks amazing on Blu-ray. You have incredible acting all around. They packed this movie with great old-timey character actors. You have guys like Claude Rains, who was the original, Visible Man, who was also in Casablanca as Prince John. Sir Guy's played by Basil Rathbone, who was in a lot of the Universal Monster films, and he's incredible as Sir Guy. He has an amazing final sword battle with Errol Flynn in this movie. It's one of the greatest sword fighting scenes of all time, and they actually, Fred Cavins, when choreographing this thing, had seen a lot of these older movies where the sword fighting looked like fencing, and he kind of invented a new way of choreography to where it looks realistic, where they're actually trying to kill each other instead of just doing a little dance and fencing. And a lot of people still hold up in high regard. Even the Star Wars films model a lot of their the original trilogy, the lightsaber fights, to look like the Robin Hood movies. George Lucas was a big fan of this movie. Olivia de Havilland, the absolute best Maid Marian we've ever seen. She's a strong female character, which was unusual for 1938. She actually saves Robin at one point. She helps Robin plot to overtake this government, and she stands up to the men around her that are trying to put her down, which is, again, very uncommon for that time. But again, going back to the titular character of Robin Hood, Errol Flynn, he does his own stunts in this movie. The incredible stunt work where he's got his hands tied behind his back. He's jumping on horses. He's climbing up ropes. He's jumping all over the place, swinging on chandeliers. It's absolutely amazing. Still holds up to this day.
And time. All right, Matt, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock.
So again, Disney animated one. It's a movie they can have a lot of fun with. And this is one of those Disney animated movies that a lot of people go, hey, this is one of the better ones that came out back in this time. And even to when you compare it to other Disney movies today, this one holds up quite well as well. And that was funny. And I think a lot of people, they go in, they go, yeah, this is one of the better Disney animated films for sure. And there's a lot of great Disney animated movies, especially at that time. And it's beautifully drawn, in my opinion. I believe this flows really, really well too. Again, the uniqueness of choosing animals to play these characters or to be drawn as these characters. I think that was a really cool thing that they did with that as well. When you look at the Adventures of Robin Hood, and you look at the Disney Robin Hood, and you're like, okay, what should we watch? Which one should we watch? You're going to choose the Disney animated one. You're going to choose that every single time. To me, I didn't really care for this one, if I'm going to be completely honest. But to be fair, I don't care about a lot of these movies that came out back in that time. It just didn't do anything for me. There's some great movies that came out in that time. And that's what makes them great, is me going in and actually enjoying them. But me, just a stooge going in to watch, a movie from 1938, it's tough. And this one really doesn't do it for me, in my opinion. So I'm going to concede my time instead of being quiet.
All right, we'll go ahead and jump over to the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will pick back up for you guys once the first competitor speaks.
It's funny you say this movie is uniquely drawn when literally there are side-by-side comparisons online you can go look up where Disney recycled animations from previous films like The Jungle Book and literally recycled sequences from that and the Aristocats and just drew the new characters over the other ones. It has the exact same choreography side-by-side. That shows laziness on the part of Disney, and it shows a lack of creativity.
I was talking about the uniqueness of having the characters be animals and not humans.
Characters were animals in all these movies around that time. What's unique about that?
The Sword
they
and
already
Stone.
They already did the Aristocats. I mean, they did the Jungle Book.
Sword and Stone would beg to differ.
It's what they do
in a film
to appeal to kids.
Look,
so what?
If they would have done all animals in all their movies, the Sword and Stone would be animals as well. But the fact that they went with animals for Robin Hood, which are people, or at least are based off of people, to choose to do animals, I think that was unique. I'm not talking necessarily about the animation,
wonderful,
because
except for the fact
animations are
that
the same.
literally Little John is drawn exactly the same as Baloo. It's literally the exact same hand-drawn animation, and they just changed the costuming. Shere Khan and the king are the exact same character. Kaa and the Jungle Book is the exact same character as the snake character. I forget his name. In Robin Hood, that's incredible laziness on Disney part. You can't have the best Robin Hood movie, or even one of the better Disney, if your writers and your animators don't put forth that effort to make it something that stands out.
Again, they could have easily just done people, and the fact that they decided to go animals instead of humans, which they easily could have done humans.
They did because they were lazy and just recycled stuff from the animal movies they just did. That's laziness. That's why they went with that thing. They could have gone with people, and it would have been nice. It would have been something different at the time. Yeah,
it wouldn't have been different at the time. You had Sword in the Stone. You had all the other Disney animated movies that had people. It's not like they only did animals.
Well, we had an animated, people Robin Hood at that point. They could have done that, and it would have stood out. I mean, again, but
it wouldn't have stood out.
They went with that because it was convenient to them.
It would have been like any other Robin Hood movie. It would have been like any other Robin Hood movie.
Your movie is also completely washed out and muted. The colors are horrible in this movie as opposed to the Technicolor of my film, which is unique. You have this gray and like orange. It looks really gross. And Brian Bedford, who does the voice of Robin Hood, sounds completely bored. He's completely lifeless. He has no bravado, no energy, no charisma whatsoever. The best performance you have is Peter Ustinov as the king. And even him, it sounds like he's drunk the entire movie.
I always view that as the point. It's
the point.
Somebody that's pretty
What
sober. Like the
what
point
about
of the
Brian
character
Bedford being completely lifeless and having zero charisma as opposed to Errol Flynn, who literally steals every scene he's in and is completely charismatic. Your eyes are locked onto him the whole movie, and he pushes the movie forward at an incredible pace for a 1930
I'll tell you,
movie.
I disagree. Look, I absolutely disagree with being lifeless and stuff. That I completely disagree with. I was invested. I was a kid, but also as an adult watching it, I'm invested. I'm not bored with any of the performances whatsoever. And the colors, I disagree yet again. I think the colors are perfectly fine,
completely
especially
slow.
for an animated
There's no
movie that came out in
momentum.
the
Your movie
1970s.
reeks of mediocre Disney and mediocre.
That is a sin you're committing
throughout
right
the whole
there.
thing. Again, the look of the movie, the recycling of it, it's all mediocre. It does nothing to stand out. This era of Disney where they really needed something to push it forward. So not only is it not a good Disney movie, it's not a good Robin Hood movie because even Robin Hood is completely boring in this film.
Strongly.
Absolutely
disagree. It is not boring. I enjoy myself every time watching it. I'm invested every single time watching that movie. The Adventures of Robin Hood, I'm bored. I put that on when I need to go to sleep. It doesn't do anything for me in general. Errol Flynn, okay,
like incredible success.
He's not
People
incredible
or
anything like that.
I said,
he's fine.
80 years later,
it does not hold
says it all. As opposed
absolutely.
To yours,
I don't care what 55-year-old critics say. I don't care. Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't
be the
determine
first
the quality
negative
of a
review
movie
in history, Matt. This movie is universally praised and loved.
No.
Okay. That will be time. We're going to go into the 1 minute closing. Time starts and you begin speaking, Austin.
Like I said, basically, I'm even just getting to the point of Robin Hood, the best Robin Hood movie. It's Errol Flynn because he embodies everything you would want Robin Hood to be. He has the bravery, the bravado, he has the cockiness, but he also has the tender, kind of gentle moments when he's meeting with the villagers who have been affected by this taxes. He has a great little romance and a wonderful connection with Olivia de Havilland. And this movie's legacy goes to this day. Even right around that time, Looney Tunes in the 40s did a thing called Rabbit Hood, which completely is a takeoff of the Errol Flynn movie. The movie The Court Jester with Danny Kaye is a spoof of this movie, Robin Hood. The movie Robin Hood Men in Tights takes this complete look and feel from the Errol Flynn movie while kind of spoofing the plot of Prince of Thieves, but it still takes a lot from that. Like I said, the Star Wars lightsaber duels are modeled after the sword fights in this movie. Even as recently as Tangled, Flynn Rider, the main character, is modeled after Errol Flynn, obviously not just in name only, but in his swagger and his bravado. And again, with Robin Hood, you have a completely lazy movie that recycles old tropes, recycles animation, has nothing to stand out, and doesn't do anything to drive any kind of momentum for the movie.
And time. All right, we're going to go on to the 1 minute closing for you, Matt. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So I will again say I completely disagree with them being completely lazy with the Disney version of Robin Hood. Again, they could have been lazy and just been like, hey, let's choose people. Let's just do that. Let's have fun. But the fact that it decided to go a more animal route, that is what's unique. Choosing to do animals instead of people, doing people in a Robin Hood movie is not unique whatsoever. It doesn't stand out. Okay, I don't care if it's an animated version of Robin Hood; it wouldn't stand out whatsoever. When we're talking about your Adventures of Robin Hood movie, it doesn't stand out. It doesn't do anything to capture people like me, and it doesn't make me go, "Oh, I want to watch this movie multiple times." I watched it once; that was enough, and I will never watch the movie again. Errol Flynn is fine; like, he's not terrible, but he doesn't really do anything for me to make me invested. The movie doesn't do anything to invest me. When I watch the Disney Robin Hood, I have a good time. It's something that children can watch, adults can watch, and they'll have a really good time, and it flows better.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and sit in the back and move on to our judges here. But that said, Jordan, you are up first, sir. So who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point for you?
Yeah, good match here, but again, I'm gonna go with Pez. Again, I kind of feel like Matt was really getting something at the very end there, like those last few seconds. I wanted more as to why, because again, I feel like he spoke more generalities, while Pez sold me on this. These are both movies I haven't seen. I've only seen the Robin Russell Crowe one. Don't judge me. But like, so I came fresh, like, hey, sell me on your movies here, and I think Pez nailed it, from selling me on Robin Hood, Errol Flynn, to even Maid Marian, and everything here. And I don't know if there's enough knock other than like it's kind of old and a little boring here. Well, I think Pez had more knocks about the animation here, and sold his characters and the legacy and everything on it. So yeah, Pez.
Alejandro?
Yeah, I'm with Jordan. I kind of when I heard the name Robin Hood, I for some reason thought of Peter Pan. I was like, nope, different green guy. But ultimately, I definitely also went with Pez for a lot of the same reasons. Like he sold the shit out of the 1938 movie, and I think what really set Matt down was the whole timing thing, like saying that it's Disney's Robin Hood is more of a more for general audiences and a family film that everybody can enjoy, but there are a lot of really good classic movies that are timeless. Like The Wizard of Oz came up. That movie, even for the time, is still enjoyable for audiences today. So I definitely think Pez won out in the end.
All right. Well, judges, thank you guys so much. We're on a time restraint for recording, so I'm going to go ahead and slip you guys in the back so that we can say your winner by way of a 3-1 finish is Austin Pez Howell, coming back from the title match with a victory. How are you feeling after that, man?
No, pretty good. Matt did a good job getting the point on the comedy question. I thought that was pretty close, and you could tell he's passionate about The Big Lebowski, so he can talk about it a lot. But that's fine. I that was the one where I was worried, so I just hammered the other one's extra, and especially that fourth question in case we got to it, so I could really hit it home. So yeah, that's fine. Things happen. I was hoping to gun for the knockout, but it didn't happen. But that's all right. Yeah, I'm happy to get a win here. Like I said, Matt, you're a good guy, but you're just in my way, so it just is what it is. I'm going to demolish you just to get to the next opponent. I'm going to get my title shot, whether I got to go through the tournament, in there, whether I just get it just through, seeding or whatever. I'm going to get my title shot, and I'm going to get it back.
Absolutely. And, at a record now of 8-5, if you wanted it, you'll more than likely have another opportunity to play at least once before the recording for the tournament begins. We'll discuss that more off camera later, but at the very least at 8-5, obviously if you were to win your next match 9-5, but even if you were to lose your next match 8-6, you pretty much are secured in your spot for the tournament. At this point, your wins and losses are just solidifying where you'll place in the tournament in terms of seedings. So is that what you are really looking forward to next, even with another match in the middle?
Well, yeah, no, that's fine. And winnerless is still just practice again for the tournament. I'm confident in my chances if we get to the tournament because, like I said, even it being my first tournament last time, I pushed my way all the way through the finals. So I'm confident I can make it all the way if I have to do that to get a title shot, and I'll do what I have to do. So if I have to pick up some more knockouts on the way, I was hoping to get one tonight, but very close, but not quite. But yeah, that's fine. But yeah, hats off to Matt. He did a good job, especially with that comedy question. So made it a little closer than I thought it would be. So kudos to you, Matt. But I'm happy to get the win.
Absolutely. Well, till next time, sir, take care of yourself. We will see you in the next one as we'll go ahead and bring Matt in. And hey, listen, dude, you, in a lot of ways for the show, you did take a bullet in the sense of matches have to happen, and sometimes there just isn't that fairy tale setup for competitors. You stepped up out of a couple different players who were offered the chance. Most of them just kind of went, I mean, if I have to, whereas you were very confidently, yeah, okay, I'll take it. And considering the way you were setting yourself up, you did do better than that. I think there were a couple of competitive rounds in there, one of which you took the point on. So what do you take away? And one more time, you're muted.
Fucking A. There we go. So first off, thank you, Aaron, for accepting my Venmo on question 2. Really appreciate that. But no, in all
We got to
seriousness,
talk about that afterwards, though.
Yeah, this is what I expected.
It didn't go all through. So I need you to resend it.
Okay. That's weird. I didn't go through. But no, this is exactly what I expect. Not getting a point. I expected to lose. I thought it was gonna be a knockout. You know, but I got a point, and I guess that's fun. You know, but I look, it's fine. I took many bullets, and I'll probably continue to take more bullets. I'm a sponge. Just keep shooting them at me, and it is what it is. Had a lot of fun though, regardless of winning or losing. And I've never seen The Adventures of Robin Hood, but Austin, you sold me. I'm gonna watch The Adventures of Robin Hood tomorrow. I had no time to watch it. I had no time. I had to watch Spider-Verse instead.
Listen, people, sometimes
Which came out 3 months ago.
Sometimes you make choices. So with that said, till next time, sir, take care of yourself. We will see you in the next one, as we'll go ahead and put you in the back. And guys, that is it on another match in the Movie Battleground. I want to say first off, thank you to Pez and to Matt. Thank you to our judges, Jordan and Alejandro. And thank you to all of you for watching. Be sure to stick with us as we have more great matches coming at you all the time. And until next time, my name is Aaron Knoll. Take care, everybody.